For years, I helped my brother pay for his child's treatment. At a family gathering, I overheard him tell relatives, "We manage on our own, never asked anyone for help." I didn't argue. The next day, I closed all accounts for the treatment payments. A week later, he called in a panic. "The clinic says payments stopped. What's going on?" "Nothing," I said. "Just helping you manage on your own like you bragged." He shouted, "You can't do this. It's my child's health." "Strange," I noted. "You said you never asked for help." Now he works 2 jobs to cover treatment and no longer boasts about his independence. It was one of those picture-perfect Sunday afternoons at my parents' place. You know the kind. Dad flipping burgers on his prized Weber grill, Mom fussing over her homemade potato salad, and the whole family sprawled across the backyard like we were shooting a commercial for suburban bliss. I was chilling in an Adirondack chair, nursing my second White Claw when I overheard my brother Jake talking to our Uncle Bill. "Yeah, Maddie's treatments are expensive as hell, but we manage on our own," Jake was saying, chest all puffed up like he was auditioning for World's Greatest Dad. "Never asked anyone for help. Gotta stand on your own 2 feet in this world, right?" I nearly choked on my drink. For real? This dude was seriously taking credit for managing on his own when I'd been quietly transferring $2,000 into his account every month for the past 3 years to cover his daughter's medical bills? The same bills he'd sobbed about not being able to afford when Maddie was first diagnosed? Let me back up a sec. My niece Maddie, cutest 7-year-old you'll ever meet, has a rare autoimmune condition. Insurance covers some of it, but the specialists and experimental treatments, that's all out of pocket. Jake and his wife Lisa both work decent jobs, but nowhere near enough to handle those medical bills without drowning in debt. When they got the diagnosis, Jake called me at 2 a.m., voice cracking like he was 16 again. "I don't know what to do," he'd whispered. "The treatments are going to be like $4,000 a month. We can't—" I didn't even let him finish. "I got you," I said. "That's what family does, right?" I've always been good with money. No kids of my own, decent job in tech, and some investments that actually didn't tank for once. Setting up a monthly transfer was no big thing. I never wanted praise or anything, just wanted my niece to get better. But hearing Jake straight up lie, acting like he was some financial superhero while I'd been quietly keeping their heads above water, that hit different. I didn't say anything at the BBQ, just smiled and passed the Heinz ketchup when Jake asked for it. But something had shifted, inside me, like when you suddenly realize someone you trusted has been playing you for a fool all along. Update, y'all are not going to believe what I did next, and I'm still trying to figure out if I went too nuclear. Have you ever had that moment where you just snap after years of being taken for granted? I've been reading your comments and appreciate the support, but seriously, was cutting him off completely the right move when my niece's health was involved? More drama to come because my phone has not stopped blowing up since yesterday. The next morning, I woke up with this cold, clear certainty. Grabbed my laptop, still in my Target pajamas, and logged into my bank account. 3 clicks, and the automatic transfer to Jake's account was canceled. Then I called the billing department at Maddie's treatment center, where I'd set up direct payments. "Hi, I need to close account number 45872, I said, sounding way calmer than I felt. "Of course," chirped the billing lady. "And would you like to transfer the remaining balance somewhere else?" "No thanks, just close it completely." She asked if I was sure, mentioned something about continuous care, but I was on a mission. 10 minutes later, all the financial support I'd been providing was gone. Poof, like it never existed. For a week, nothing happened. I went to work, binged the new season of that show everyone's talking about on Netflix, and tried not to think about what was coming. Then my phone lit up with Jake's name on a Thursday night while I was making stir-fry. "What the hell is going on?" His voice was tight, panicky. "The clinic says all our payments stopped. They're talking about pausing Maddie's treatments." I stirred my veggies, taking my sweet time before answering. "Nothing's going on. Just helping you manage on your own like you were bragging about to Uncle Bill." Silence. Then, "What are you talking about?" "Sunday. At Mom and Dad's. You were going on about how you've never asked for help, how you manage everything on your own. So I figured I'd stop interfering with your independent lifestyle." "Are you kidding me right now?" His voice cracked. "You can't do this. It's my daughter's health we're talking about." "Strange," I said, feeling this weird mix of guilt and satisfaction. "You said you never asked for help. Was that a lie, or am I misremembering?" He exploded then, calling me every name in the book, saying I was punishing his innocent daughter for my petty grudge. And maybe he was right. But 3 years of financial support without so much as a thank you card, only to hear him brag about doing it all himself? That stung worse than I wanted to admit. "Look," I finally said when he paused to breathe, "I'm not trying to hurt Maddie. But I'm done being your secret ATM while you play big independent man to the family. Either you tell everyone the truth about who's been paying those bills, or you really can manage on your own from now on." He hung up on me. Classic Jake move, when confronted with his own BS. The next day, my mom called. Apparently, Jake had given her some version of the story that made me sound like the Grinch who stole healthcare. "I know your brother can be difficult," Mom said in that diplomatic voice she uses when she's trying not to take sides. "But sweetie, this is about Maddie." "I know exactly who it's about," I replied. "It's about Jake lying to everyone's face while taking my money. Would you be cool with Dad telling everyone he built their house himself if Uncle Steve actually paid for half of it?" Mom went quiet, then sighed. "No, I wouldn't, but still. Tell Jake he has 2 options. Come clean to the family about who's been funding Maddie's treatments or figure it out himself like he claims he's been doing all along." 2 more days of family drama followed. My sister texted saying I was being harsh, but she understood why. I was upset. Dad left a grumbly voicemail about working things out like adults. My Aunt Sharon, who never minds her business, sent a Facebook message calling me selfish. Meanwhile, radio silence from Jake. Update. All right, folks, the family drama has officially reached DEFCON 1. My phone's been blowing up with relatives taking my sides. Some saying I'm teaching Jake a valuable lesson, others calling me heartless. But here's the real question. When did standing up for yourself become the bad guy move? The showdown happened at my parents' house yesterday, and let me tell you, when Jake walked in looking like he hadn't slept in days, I almost caved. Should I have stuck to my guns, or was there a middle ground I missed? Wait till you hear what went down. It was Lisa who reached out next. We've always gotten along. She's straightforward, doesn't play games like my brother. She asked if we could meet for coffee at that little indie place near the Walmart that makes those bomb lavender lattes. When I got there, she looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, clutching her hydro flask like it was keeping her upright. I didn't know, she said before I even sat down. About the money, Jake told me his company had special insurance that covered most of it. I found out everything when the clinic called about the missed payment. I believed her. Lisa's not the type to lie, especially about something this big. He's a proud guy, she continued, eyes fixed on her coffee. Too proud. When we first got married, he wouldn't even let me pay for dinner because he thought it made him look weak. Proud is one thing, I said. Lying to everyone while taking my money is another. She nodded slowly. I know. I told him the same thing. We had a huge fight about it. She looked up at me then. He's scared, though. We can't afford the treatments without help. He's already applied for a second job at the UPS warehouse. Something in my chest tightened. I don't want Maddie to suffer because Jake's a jerk. I know you don't. Lisa reached across the table and squeezed my hand. He needs to make this right, on his own terms. I left that coffee shop feeling conflicted as hell. On one hand, Jake had straight up disrespected me and taken advantage of my generosity. On the other, my niece's health was hanging in the balance, and I loved that little girl more than words. A week went by. I heard through the family grapevine that Jake had indeed started working nights at UPS after his day job at the insurance company. Lisa had picked up extra shifts at the hospital too. They were hustling, but word was they were still struggling to make ends meet. Then came the family dinner. Mom had insisted on it, said she couldn't stand the tension anymore and we needed to break bread together like civilized people. I showed up with a bottle of Barefoot Moscato, Mom's favorite, and a knot in my stomach. Jake arrived late, looking like he'd aged 5 years and 2 weeks. When he saw me, he just nodded stiffly before helping Maddie with her jacket. My niece, oblivious to the adult drama, ran over to give me a hug. Auntie, I missed you. Did you bring Cheetos like last time? I laughed, feeling my heart crack a little. Not today, kiddo, but I promise next time. Dinner was awkward AF. Everyone making small talk while carefully avoiding anything remotely related to money, health, or responsibility. Dad kept refilling his Coors Light. Mom kept offering more mashed potatoes like carbs could solve family feuds. It was when we were having dessert, Mom's famous apple pie with Breyer's vanilla ice cream, that Jake cleared his throat. I have something to say, he announced, looking like he was about to face a firing squad. Everyone froze, forks halfway to mouths. Jake looked directly at me, then around at the whole family. I haven't been honest with you all about Maddie's treatments. The room went so quiet you could hear the ice maker dropping cubes in the kitchen. For the past 3 years, I've been getting help. A lot of help. He swallowed hard. From my sister. She's been covering most of Maddie's medical expenses, thousands of dollars every month, Mom gasped. Dad's eyebrows shot up to his receding hairline. I told everyone we were managing on our own because I was embarrassed, ashamed that I couldn't provide for my family without help. His voice cracked a little. Then I made it worse by bragging about being independent, which was a straight-up lie. And when I got called out on it, he glanced at me. I reacted badly. Really badly. I sat there, stunned. I'd expected more fighting, more excuses. Not this. Update. You guys, this story isn't over yet, and I'm still processing everything that's happened. The family dinner confession was just the beginning. Wait till you hear what Jake did after everyone left. Some of you commented that pride can make people do crazy things, and man, were you right. My brother showed up at my doorstep at 11 p.m. looking absolutely broken, but what he brought with him completely changed everything. The question now is, after all that's happened, can you really rebuild trust that's been shattered? I'm about to find out. After dinner, most of the family hung around, asking questions, expressing shock at both Jake's deception and my financial support. Uncle Bill kept saying, $2,000 a month for 3 years, that's a down payment on a house, which wasn't exactly helpful. Around 9, people started heading out. Jake and Lisa were loading Maddie, half asleep and chocolate smeared, into their Subaru when Jake asked if he could stop by my place later. I hesitated, then nodded. Whatever was coming, better to get it over with. It was almost 11 when my doorbell rang. I was in my sweats, halfway through a bag of Doritos and an episode of Yellowstone, not exactly in prime confrontation mode. But there was Jake on my porch, holding a thick manila envelope and looking like he hadn't slept in a week. Can I come in? He asked, his voice rough. I stepped aside to let him in, then led him to the kitchen. Offered him a beer, which he declined with a shake of his head. I've been doing a lot of thinking, he started, sitting stiffly at my kitchen island, about why I lied, not just to the family but to myself. I leaned against the counter, arms crossed. I'm listening. When Maddie got sick, it was like everything I thought about myself as a father, as a provider, just crumbled. One day I'm planning her college fund, the next I'm realizing I can't even afford her medicine. He rubbed his face hard. When you offered to help, it was like a miracle. But every month when that money hit our account, it also felt like proof that I'd failed her. That's messed up, Jake. Getting help isn't failing. I know that. Logically, I know that. He tapped the envelope he'd brought. But I grew up with Dad always going on about self-reliance, about how a real man stands on his own 2 feet. It got in my head. I thought about our dad who'd rather drive around lost for an hour than ask for directions. The apple hadn't fallen far from the tree. Anyway, Jake continued, after you cut off the payments and I got over being angry, I realized what a massive thing you'd been doing for us. Without recognition, without thanks. He slid the envelope toward me. This is everything I can pull together right now. Inside was $6,400 in cash, a handwritten payment plan, and a letter. From Jake and Lisa to me. It's not even close to what you've given us, Jake said, voice tight. But it's a start. I've picked up that second job, and Lisa's working extra shifts. We're going to pay you back every cent, even if it takes years. I stared at the cash, feeling a complicated mix of emotions. Jake, I never expected to be paid back. That wasn't the point. I know, but I need to do this. For me. His eyes met mine, red-rimmed, but determined. I also talked to Maddie's doctors. There's a clinical trial starting next month that could cover most of her treatments. We're applying for it, and for some patient assistance programs I should have looked into years ago. I sat down across from him, suddenly tired. I didn't cut you off to punish Maddie. I just couldn't keep bankrolling someone who denied I was even helping. You had every right to be pissed. Jake ran a hand through his hair. What I did, taking your money while pretending I didn't need it, that was beyond ungrateful. It was disrespectful to you and everything you've done for us. We talked for almost 2 hours that night. Really talked, in a way we hadn't since we were kids sharing a bedroom, whispering after lights out. About money, about pride, about how terrified he'd been when Maddie was diagnosed. About how I'd felt invisible, taken for granted. By the time he left, something had shifted between us. Not fixed, that would take time, but maybe healing had started. The next day, I deposited $400 of Jake's cash and drove to the treatment center with the rest. I reinstated the payment account, but with a difference. It would cover 50% of Maddie's expenses, not 100%. A partnership, not a handout. When I told Jake what I'd done, he didn't argue or get defensive, just said, thank you, for everything. Not just the money. That was 6 months ago. Jake's still working both jobs, though he's cut back on UPS hours since they got accepted into that clinical trial. Lisa tells me he's been going to therapy, working through his issues around money and masculinity. They've been transparent with the extended family about their financial situation and the help they receive, not just from me, but from other support systems they've found. As for me and Jake, we're better now. Different, but better. He texts me updates about Maddie's progress without me having to ask. Invites me over for dinner regularly. Last week, he even tagged me in a Facebook post, thanking the support network that keeps us afloat, which might not sound like much, but from Jake, that's practically skywriting. Maddie's doing great, by the way. Her last 3 checkups have shown improvement, and she just started soccer. Her team jersey's sponsored by yours truly. Pride's a funny thing. It can make you do stupid stuff, like turn down help you desperately need, or lie about where your strength really comes from. But real pride, the good kind, that comes from being honest about your struggles and grateful for the people who help you through them. Jake learned that lesson the hard way. But watching him put in those double shifts, seeing him openly thank people for their support instead of pretending he doesn't need it, turns out my brother's stronger than either of us realized, just not in the way he thought.